He strutted into the arena like a man who had already won, chin high, shoulders loose, talking about brick hands and sparring sessions as if they were official victories. Frank Martin believed this was his moment, his coronation. He spoke confidently about giving Gervonta Tank Davis the kind of fight no one else could. He insisted that the mistakes Tank exploited in other opponents would not work on him. In his mind, he had already solved the puzzle. But the thing about puzzles is that they only look simple until you try to take them apart. Across the ring stood Gervonta Davis, a fighter who never needed to raise his voice because his fists had built a resume louder than any pre-fight promise. He didn't climb through the ranks with words, he did it with knockouts that left crowds stunned and opponents searching for answers. When he stopped Jose Pedraza to claim his first world title at just 22 years old, the boxing world realized a new force had arrived. When Leo Santa Cruz crumpled from a perfectly timed uppercut, it wasn't just a knockout, it was a statement. When Mario Barrios tried to test him at a higher weight and suffered knockdowns before being stopped, the message became clearer. Hype meant nothing. Confidence meant nothing. Precision and power were everything. Even the loud build-up against Rolando Romero ended the same way, with a single left hand detonating against expectation. And when Ryan Garcia stepped in as the golden attraction of his generation, it took only one vicious liver shot to fold him in silence. That is what Tank does. He doesn't edge past opponents, he erases them. But this fight carried more weight than just another defense. After legal troubles led to jail time and a long layoff, questions lingered. Would he return the same? Would the sharpness still be there? Would the hunger survive the chaos outside the ring? 14 months later, the answer walked back into the spotlight, sharper, colder, and visibly more focused. Frank Martin entered undefeated, guided by elite minds, fueled by belief. He was athletic, quick, determined, a former wrestler and football player who had carved his way into boxing through sheer dedication. Martin carried himself like a man ready to shock the world. He even leaned on old sparring stories, hinting that he had gotten the better of Tank years ago. But sparring is a whisper, fight night is a scream. When the bell rang, there was no rush from Davis, no reckless charge. He moved like a predator conserving energy, taking center ring, measuring distance with subtle feints. The first round felt like a chess match, Tank watching, calculating, absorbing information. Martin probed with jabs, circled, tried to create angles, but there was something unsettling about Davis's calm. He wasn't reacting, he was waiting. By the second and third rounds, the temperature shifted. Tank's feet cut off the ring more decisively. His eyes stayed locked on Martin's chest, reading every twitch. The punches were still measured, but the pressure was growing. Martin began to realize that nothing came easy. Every attempted entry was met with quiet resistance. Every exit felt narrower than before. The fourth round made it visible. Davis began digging to the body, sharp, thudding shots that forced reactions. The crowd erupted each time leather met flesh. Martin's bounce slowed just slightly. His confidence didn't disappear, but it flickered. Tank wasn't just landing, he was imprinting. By the fifth and sixth rounds, the difference in composure became stark. Martin tried to assert himself, throwing combinations, looking to shift momentum, but Davis's timing was surgical. Counters slipped through the smallest openings, body shots drained energy, head shots snapped the neck back just enough to remind everyone of the power waiting in reserve. With every exchange, Martin gave a little more ground. The seventh round felt like inevitability creeping closer. Tank had walked him toward the ropes repeatedly, shrinking the battlefield. Martin's movements grew tighter, more desperate. Davis, still patient, seemed almost relaxed, as if the ending had already been written and he was simply turning the final pages. Then came the eighth. The precision sharpened into punishment. Combinations flowed downstairs and upstairs with ruthless efficiency. Martin was trapped, forced into exchanges he could not win. And when the decisive blow landed, it wasn't chaotic. It was clean, emphatic, final. The arena exploded as Martin went down, humbled under the weight of power he had underestimated. It was more than just another knockout. It was a reminder. Gervonta Davis does not get drawn into someone else's script. He writes his own. He absorbs the noise, the doubt, the bravado, and then answers with violence wrapped in precision. Every opponent who thinks they have solved him eventually discovers the same truth. You cannot out-talk a man whose fists speak fluently in devastation. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a reassertion of dominance. The anger, the focus, the hunger, all fused into one controlled performance that ended exactly how so many of his fights do, with the opponent staring at the lights and the crowd chanting his name. So, what comes next for Tank? Who truly has the tools to survive that kind of patience, that kind of timing, that kind of power? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you felt the intensity of this performance, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more deep fight breakdowns, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next explosive chapter in boxing history.